Well, no one there is satisfied with how the last few seasons have ended in Columbus. It is fair to point out that Ryan Day's tenure with Ohio State has had overwhelmingly more ups than downs. His Buckeyes have lost just 8 times in his first 5 full seasons. His win percentage of .875 is the highest by any FBS coach this century who's coached at least 50 games, with Kirby Smart, Urban Meyer, and Nick Saban, the next 3 on the list. It's an amazing list, right? And so we asked Ryan Day about this at camp. If you remember, do you take any pride in this? And he said no. No. Absolutely not. No. We were talking about this last week as well on the show. And I think when you look at this week, guys, or this season, I should say, for them, it's clearly beat Michigan or bust. It's make the playoff or bust. To a certain extent, I don't know if it's win the national championship or bust, but I think
talk to them, it's win the national title.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's in that realm of possibility that if you don't win it, you look at it as an unsuccessful year. That's a tough place to be, Yogi. Let's talk about the opener first against Akron. All due respect, doesn't feel like it's going to be a particularly close game. So what do you focus on in week 1? To you, is it offensive line and quarterback? Is there more to it than that? What are the things you'll have in your line of sight there?
Yeah, well, I think everybody says the same thing, which is nameless, faceless opponent. I had a chance to connect with Joe Moorhead earlier this morning, and he knows the task that is up in front of his team. With that said, I think for Ohio State, it really is about efficiency, execution, and opportunity. Why do I say opportunity? Because we've talked to Ryan Day enough times now where we say, do they feel that pressure? Do they feel that Michigan or Natty or bust? And he said, you know what? We look at it as what a cool opportunity. What an opportunity to represent this school, represent this team, and everybody who came back. I mean, for years, you guys have covered this team where the best players were 3 and out. Now it's 3 and run it back one more time. And I think that's going to be really fun to watch this thing. So, yes, of course, Will Howard, my eyes will be there. What is Chip Kelly going to do? Do I anticipate all the bags of Chip Kelly's offense coming out? Zero chance. We're not going to see all the tricks that he has. We're not going to see all the tools that they have. But I anticipate to watch a real confident Will Howard. I look forward to watching one of the best run games in the country. I think this offensive line is pretty talented. I know that's the one area you can say, hey, what are they going to be like this year? I think they're still really gifted up front, and they are a special team. So how do they execute? And I think the last thing I'll look for is their celebrations. I think the best teams celebrate with one another. Like, where is the vicarious joy coming from? And if you feel the pressure, sometimes I call it exhale wins, where you win the game or you score the touchdown, it's, whew, thank God we got that. I want to see this team ride together, celebrate together, jump on the sideline together. Those are the things that showcase the championship culture, mentality. I think this team has that, and that's what I'll be looking forward to when they compete.
Yeah, I think when we look at Ohio State, we can talk about the line of scrimmage or the offensive line, where they need to improve, but this is a game that they should be able to go out and dominate. Then you go to Will Howard. This is a situation where he should go out and be able to have the success. He's had success in his past. There's no question about that, but being the starting quarterback in Columbus is a different animal all in itself. And he'll have to learn that process as he goes through it. But playing this particular game will gain that momentum, that confidence that he's going to need. And also, when Yogi talks about just watching the excitement of this team and how they move around, I also want to see him with a workman-like attitude as they go out and compete this weekend.
I mean, the thing that I find so interesting that you kind of are both touching on is how many players chose to come back, right? You have 7 first or second team, all Big Ten picks, who could have gone to the NFL, who came back for their senior year. Mm-hmm. That speaks to, A, the unfinished business, and kind of echoing the sentiment of Ryan Day that, no, we're not satisfied with just winning a lot of football games. We need to win the right football games. But I think it also speaks to what Yogi's talking about and what you're alluding to, too, which is the camaraderie in this team and guys with that common purpose. They were picked first by 21 of the 27 voters in the unofficial Big Ten preseason poll. The other 6 first-place votes went to Oregon. The Ducks got arguably the best transfer QB in the nation in Dylan Gabriel. He's been at UCF and Oklahoma, has thrown for nearly 15,000 career yards. That's the 7th most in FBS history. His 125 career TD passes are the most nationally among active players by 31. He has a chance to break the NCAA record for career starts, a record, of course, set by his predecessor, Bo Nix. Yogi, I cannot wait for these two to go head-to-head on October 12th, but we got a lot of football between now and then, starting with the Vandals. You've been covering Oregon for a long time. Give us a little insight into what you are most interested in as they kind of begin that climb to potentially being a college football playoff and maybe even a national championship team.
Well, we get the gift of calling that one on the Big Ten Network this weekend. So we'll be flying up there Thursday. We'll have another in-depth look under the hood at this program. But I'll tell you this, you guys are going to get annoyed every time I say this all year, because every Monday I'm going to come on and I'm going to say, Oregon football, connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice. Those are their DNA traits, and I think they are dramatically reflected in every area of this program. Connection. Let's talk about Dylan Gabriel. What he's done mirrors what a lot of transfer quarterbacks do. Is how are you going to pour into your guys? What did he do that was so unique? Instead of getting a Maserati, he decided to get a van so he could put the receivers and tight ends in and drive them around all summer, making sure that their timing and their anticipation and the playbook was completely connected to one another. I look at this team defensively, and I just think that, like Ohio State and Penn State, they're different than everybody else, at least that my eyes saw defensively. I know I didn't get a chance to go to Iowa like you guys did, but they're unique. They've got 10 second year, as in sophomore defensive linemen. Some are redshirt freshmen, some are true sophomores, but bottom line, they are loaded on the defensive front, and you're going to have to be with what we know is the CFP and the expanded season. 15, 16, 17 possible games for this team. And I look around, I don't see many chinks in their armor. They're not world class at every position, and they're not a first rounder at every position. But gosh, I look at the 22 starters, I think everybody's going to find their way to a training camp. Some second, third day picks, some may be free agents. But this roster is worth the hype, and Ohio State and Oregon, at least from my lens, man, they are two different monsters right now in college football and in this league.
When you start to think about this Oregon team over the last couple of years, it's been a team that's been physical. They've been put together to be a physical football team, and you only need to look to Coach Lanning's background at Alabama and Georgia to understand what type of team he wants to put out on the football field. So that's going to be significant. For me, I want to watch the line of scrimmage. I'm not one of those that is buying into the West Coast teams of more finesse. I think they're physical out there, and they're going to have an opportunity really for the Midwest or our Big Ten footprint for people to get a true understanding of just how talented this team is. And they're just not talented, right? They also can get physical and will get in the phone booth and beat you up if you're not careful.
The big thing that stands out to me is I think, like, for a lot of Big Ten fans, and I would count myself in this group, the last time you really studied Oregon and watched them closely in preparation for a game was when they played Ohio State for the national championship in the first year of the college football playoff. And that was a line of scrimmage mismatch. Ohio State won that game at the line of scrimmage. So then last year, when we know that Oregon's coming into the Big Ten, one of the things I did every week was DVR all of these teams every week, right? And you didn't. I wasn't able to watch every game. I don't know what you did. I tried to watch as much as I could and get a sense for them. And I was blown away by how good they were on defense, and how different they were under Dan Lanning than they had been when we saw them in 2014. This is Tosh Lupoi has a really good defense. They held 7 opponents to 10 points or fewer last year. They're good.
He knows a little bit about defense, and he also knows a whole heck of a lot about putting a roster together, because he was one of the main recruiters at Alabama.
Yeah. They've done pretty well, too. Now, I'm fascinated to watch this team. I'm fascinated to see how they match up with the rest of the Big Ten. And offensively, I mean, you lose Bo Nix and you replace him with Dylan Gabriel. Holy cow.